Hi there, in this video I'll be working on a Hotpoint EW74 cooker and specifically on the removal and replacing of the cooling fan. These fans are generally very similar in appearance and how they fit, so in this respect the video could be relating to any number of other makes and models. However, the access to them will vary depending on which make and model you have. The first thing to do is disconnect it. Because of the very high voltage used by cookers, it's best if you switch the appliance off from the mains and remove the fuse from the main box. At the very least, switch off the unit from the wall socket and remove that fuse. Under no circumstances work on a cooker while it's still connected to the mains power supply. Removing the hob top is the next course of action, and this one is held on by 2 screws under the fascia panel and 2 at the back. To get the screws under the fascia panel, you'll need to remove the control knobs and the clock buttons. These knobs come off easily if you leave them off. So they go back on the correct control, place them on a piece of wood or something in the order they were removed. This way you can put them to one side until needed for refitting. The buttons are all the same, so there's no need to segregate them. Just pull them off and put them in a container and keep them safe. Under the fascia are 2 screws that hold it on. When these have been removed, slide it to the left and it will unhook from a couple of brackets on the cabinet. Be careful how you remove the fascia because there are 2 neons attached, and if you're too heavy handed you could break either or both of them. Having said that, they're not the easiest things in the world to remove, but they do need to come off or you'll be left with the fascia panel hanging suspended by these neon wires. With the fascia panel off, you can see the fixing brackets which it hooked into, and the hob fixing screws above them. These screws are the only things holding the front of the hob on, but as you can see access to them is quite long-winded. Remove the screws and go to the back of the cooker. There's a number of screws here, but only the bottom 2 hold the hob on. The others hold 2 brackets which fit across the hot plates, so don't undo these. Lift the hob up very carefully because on this model there's at least one wire which is, to my way of thinking, much too short, and if you just lift the hob you'll bend the terminal it connects to, and if not rectified before refitting it will short out one of the elements. The terminal blocks come apart quite easily if you squeeze the levers either side and prise them apart with a screwdriver. Although they look the same, they are in fact opposites and can't be reconnected the wrong way, so there's no need to label them. The cooling fan has 2 jobs. One is as an extractor fan for the main oven, where it draws any steam or vapour through the exhaust vent and blows it out through the grill just above the top oven door. In doing so, it also fulfills its other function of displacing any excess heat that may accumulate over the top oven cavity. There are 2 conventional thermostats that govern the temperature of this cavity and the running of the fan itself, so although I only did a continuity test on the motor, it may be wise if the fan's not working to test these thermostats also. There are only 3 screws holding this fan assembly on, this one and one either side. Like most jobs on a cooker, replacing the cooling fan is quite simple once you get to it, but the time consuming part is actually getting to it. The thing is not to rush, but just take your time. You're not in a race. If you need to, then make notes of where connections or wires fit for when it comes to reconnecting them. It's far better to be slow and careful rather than fast and dead. The motor on these units are normally quite robust. The thing that usually goes first is the fan bearing, which will cause the fan to rub on the housing as it revolves. This produces a grating or clicking noise. Unfortunately, these are not serviceable and a new unit has to be fitted. When you initially switch the oven on to test the fan, it may not come on immediately because of the thermostats, and you may also notice that it continues to run even after the oven's been switched off. Once again, this is down to the thermostats. This is normal behaviour for the cooling fan, but you may not have noticed it before, so don't think that you've done something wrong in the reassembly, because you probably haven't. Now the unit has been secured, replace the wires on their original terminals. Once again, if you're not sure about a fitting or connection, you should always make a note or take a photo so it can be replaced properly. As I said earlier, these terminal blocks can't be fitted wrongly because there's a male and a female connector on the hob and the same on the cooker. Therefore the male on the hob fits the female on the cooker and vice versa. Even the pin connections are shaped so they'll only fit in one position. At the beginning of this video I mentioned that you need to watch out for the hob hot LEDs and how one of the wires pulls on a terminal. Be aware of this and check it before replacing the top, or you could find it blowing a fuse and wonder why. Make sure the hob's sitting square on the cooker before you start replacing the front screws. Fortunately the neons go back much easier than they came out, but be sure to check the wire has gone inside the cabinet or the fascia panel won't fit properly. Hook the top of the panel onto the retaining brackets and slide it to the right. If the fascia is on properly, the holes in it should line up with the holes in the cabinet, so fit the screws and tighten them. Now bring over all the control knobs you previously put on a piece of wood, and they'll all be in the right order for refitting. The buttons just push on, and they're all the same anyway, so it doesn't really matter which order they go back on in. To finish up, just replace the two screws at the back of the hob and the cooker's ready to test. Just as a precaution, it may be wise before you reconnect it to the mains just to do a continuity test. Switch all the elements on, including the ovens, and put one of the meter probes on the earth terminal and the other on the positive. If all's well, you shouldn't get a reading. Now try it between the negative and earth. Once again, there should be no reading. If there is, turn all the elements off and try them one at a time to isolate which one is faulty. Only when they check out OK, reconnect the cooker. On behalf of Selfix UK, we'd like to thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. Goodbye.